Watch me a wind up me body, yeah. Watch me a move up me body, yeah. Watch me a wind up me body, yeah. Watch me a move up me body, yeah. Wind up, girl, up, wind up your body. 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 Me and me friends really come fit on up the party. Watch me a wine and I get naughty. I sick back me love not to drink Hennessy. Watch me a wine and I get naughty. Party turn up, party turn up. Watch me a wine and I get naughty. Party turn up, party turn up. Watch me a wine and I get naughty. Hold on there. Watch me a ride the rhythm 1 foot up.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We are the Art School Rejects.
Welcome.
And today's show, we have guest Luis.
Hey, what's up?
And we have Chad.
Hello.
And of course, we have Carlos.
Wagwan.
And Shane, who's myself. And we're going to talk about hypernormalization, the BBC documentary that just came out last year, and other things. So, guys, we have this corner, which is around the way, the Milky Way. It is called
Chad's Science Corner.
What?
So, anyway, before we get into that segment, how's everyone doing?
Great.
Doing good.
I'm surviving.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We're making the most out of a shitty situation.
That's good. That's how we always should. I think that's the American way.
Yeah.
Oh, shizzle.
Yeah, man.
Somber.
So things are good, which is good. I'm happy that everyone is here. So, Chad.
Yo.
What's been happening inside of the cosmos?
Space is filled with a network of wormholes. You might emerge somewhere else in space. Someone else can come. The sky calls to us. If we do not destroy ourselves, we will.
A lot.
Yeah.
Well, can you go outside of the cosmos?
No, I think we're kind of in it.
Yeah.
All the time.
Well, could there be? What about other universes?
Oh, we don't know about that.
Is
Yeah,
that outside the cosmos, technically,
See,
or is that
that's
part of
too-
the extended cosmos?
There's a lot of multi-universe
there's a
theories. I think they recently kind of sort of proved one, or just got more theoretical evidence for one. But we're not gonna talk about that shit.
because then it's like if there's multiple, what is it encompassed within? Does that mean that's the cosmos?
Yeah.
Let's not get into that.
That's what I'm saying.
It's just like those extra features on a DVD
What?
that you don't really need to go to.
But wait, is there ever just like one of anything in the universe?
Nah, man.
What do you mean?
Where's
There's
the fun
one
of
me.
that?
There's one love.
Okay.
Bob
Well,
Marley.
yeah, I mean, sort of. There is only one carbon atom. There's like not two different types of carbon
Yeah.
atoms.
It's like it'd be weird if like there was just one universe, I guess, because there's always examples of like multiples of things.
Yeah.
You did bring up an interesting thing that you just said about carbon atoms. So, would it theoretically be that all carbon atoms are exactly the same?
Like copies of each other,
Exactly?
like mirrors of each
Or
other.
Are they kind of like how we are? You know, we're all human, but we're all
No.
different.
Like they all have different
They are
personalities.
They are all just what they are. They're just carbon atoms.
Is this proven?
It's the same on Earth as it is the same in space. Pretty much, because if you take carbon atoms found on like meteorites from outer space that's existed for hundreds of millions, if not billions of years before they land to Earth, we don't just make up that they're carbon atoms. We know they're carbon atoms because they're carbon atoms. So
No, which is
Yeah.
true. But I'm saying it's like, you know, Luis is from Puerto Rico. You're from Trinidad. Carlos is from East LA. I don't think you're from East LA. I just made that
These,
up.
Yeah, but we all bleed red.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But we're all human. I mean, we're slightly different types, you know, just genetically make up. But
Yeah,
I mean,
different
in the
species
whole,
and stuff.
you know, as a species, we are the same.
Mhm.
So that's what I'm just wondering. Like, did we ever break it down to think that, you know,
no, whatever its chemical makeup is that defines it as a carbon atom is the same across
It's
the
the same
board
thing.
throughout the universe. Yeah, that's just what it's
so
defined
it's
as.
it's
I
math then.
don't. Yeah, exactly. I don't know what the exact.
It's like
makeup
one is always one.
You know, like water is always 2 hydrogen atoms and 1 oxygen atom. Otherwise, it's just not water. kind of thing. So shit like that.
Science.
It's the same everywhere.
Like the same bonds happen all over the universe.
All over the universe. That
Very
makes it what it
bonds.
is. And it's pretty nuts because since you bring up atoms, atomic structure found throughout the universe, and whether or not they're similar or the same, what we're discussing today actually very much encompasses this thought process, because we are going to jump into Trappist 1. Discovered.
Big news. A couple of weeks ago.
Big news. Huge
that
news.
That's like a rapper name.
Yeah,
Oh my
I think
God.
so.
I think if I were to ever get in the
Dubstep
game,
rapper.
I might adopt that.
Does he have a dope mixtape?
Coming soon, man. Next year, in the next year or two, maybe.
Is it 40 light years away?
I ain't even being facetious, like legit.
Yo,
I mean, to be honest, someone's gonna take that name
I'm sure.
What?
and make some
Trappist?
sort of music with it.
What kind of music?
it's probably gonna be like some
I get
new
started now,
wave
man.
or Star Wars wave.
I don't know. Trap.
It's got to be like future wave, future funk with a dash of like black people.
So
All right, I'll listen
is
to it once
future
or
funk
twice.
only white people then?
No,
No.
Ooh,
Oh, okay.
It's the opposite.
getting into
but-
different
but
layers
this
of this
one-
cake.
this one's got a dash of black folks. That's funny.
Oh, okay.
Makes it spicy.
All right,
So NASA had a huge conference.
we were not invited, by the way.
We were not, but they made it public though. It was on YouTube, so that's pretty cool.
I saw
All
it.
right.
So you can at least like participate in watching it. Can really, I mean, they had questions to the public, which was cool for like a brief segment, but I didn't get to participate in that. But it's all gravy. But anyway, so NASA dropped some knowledge on us of a system that they had been watching for a few years. They did not just discover this. However, what they have discovered during the press conference was the discovery of 3 additional planets within a red dwarf star system, roughly 39 light years away from Earth. When it was initially found, sometime in like, if not the late 90s, early 2000s, they had already knew that there were 3 planets orbiting the star. And the way they were able to do that is this star system, thankfully, is planar to our point of view. So when the planets go around the star, it dips in brightness integrity.
Like it actually
And-
crosses in between.
Exactly right.
They're
More
light.
often than not, that is a rarer case than most people realize. Only because most planetary systems we've found, they're top down, for lack of a better term, and we're able to identify whether or not there are planets orbiting it based on a wobble that the stars incorporate. It's just kind of like it's a slight dance when the planets go around, and if you observe it long enough, you can tell whether or not there's something else interacting with the star, whether or not it's an additional star or there are actually planets orbiting it.
Yeah,
So that
because
was pretty fresh.
that would mean that to cause the wobble, it would mean that this quote unquote center of gravity is not directly centered to the star.
Precisely
It's somewhere just off the star
Yep.
because of the planets that makes it like essentially the solar system is rotating around its gravitational like center, not the star itself. So it
That's
makes
exactly
it like
right.
wobble.
Yeah. But with Trappist, we got lucky because it was face on to us. And every couple of days or so, there would be these really significant dips in the star's brightness. And I guess with the onset of emerging technology, especially when it comes to telescope, this particular telescopic system called Trappist is, and I think it's like somewhere in Chile or something like that. That's where the name came from, is Trappist. And with increased technology, with their systems, they were able to more fine-tune its observations, and then they were able to discern that there were 3 additional planets to the 4 that they had already known, thereby making it a 7 planetary system,
That beats us, right?
which is, up
Nope.
by-
What do we
well,
got?
to an extent.
We got 9.
We got
right?
8,
We got
9.
9.
Well, we got 8.
8.
Depends.
Technically.
We got 8 technically
But
with
their
a theoretical 9.
But their planets are closer to the sun, right?
So much closer.
Yeah.
It's so crazy. But what makes this system so much more meaningful, and what would warrant a press conference from NASA, is the fact that all 7 are terrestrial planets, meaning they're rocky bodies and not gaseous like Jupiter or Saturn.
Yeah.
And they are within 0.75% to 1.25% the size and density of Earth. And that's nuts.
But by terrestrial, it doesn't mean that it's necessarily livable. It's just the chances of it being livable are a little higher.
Much higher, yeah.
Okay.
There's like a percentage grade where these little check marks that if they find something like that if it were to hit these little marks, the chance of life existing on that planet just increase incrementally, higher and higher and higher. And a lot of the rocky bodies that we've found will in other planetary extraplanetary systems would either have just one, maybe two, and they'll either be too small like Mercury or Mars, or much, much larger than Earth, or be too far away or too close to the star, so on and so forth.
So it would be crazy, right? So like these planets are real close to each other, and they're all like rocky, and they're all probably have like portions of water on them, right?
Very much so. It is a possibility
that like at least 3 of them have like large bodies of water.
Yep. Of the 7 that they found.
Well, yeah, of the 7 that they found. So how crazy would it be if we had like in our solar system like 3 other planets that were close, like we can like easily fly to and had like were terrestrial and had I don't know, it's just hard for me to imagine that because our solar system is so different, like, and so we're kind of the one planet that has like all the amenities that it has.
All the amenities,
but like, wouldn't it be wild
much.
if we had like 3 neighbors that were kind of like Earth-like also?
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, Mars.
Mars is a stretch.
No, but like that's. I mean, when we hear about news like these, it's like I always find it funny because every time you read an article or something about they found all these new planets, there's always like some artwork that shows you like this, like a depiction of the planets, and they're like all green and shit. But really, what these motherfuckers are looking at is just like little tiny black and white pixels on like this big black image. It's like they're not actually seeing the planet. They're just seeing like, oh, this planet isn't as bright, so it's not shining as much light, so it's probably rocky.
But you can infer though, right, Chad? Like there's enough information.
Very much
there's
so,
enough information that they're just not like wildly drawing like random fantasy.
No. What I'm saying, it's like they can't. If let's say we were on that solar system and we were looking back at ours, Earth and Mars will look exactly the same. That's what I'm saying. Like there's this margin of error.
You do make a very valid point. It really is a matter of interpretation and inference, because they have during the press conference they said the same thing. If you were an observer from Trappist-1 looking back at Earth, or just looking back at our star itself, and you would see that there are 4 terrestrial rocky planets orbiting that star, but just based on their distance and their velocity, you would infer that both Mars, Venus, and Earth were potentially habitable planets, because all 3 are technically within our sun's habitable zone. So they can make they would make the inference that there's which is not to say they were completely incorrect, but then without the true data of being there, they don't necessarily know. But like Lo said, they can very much infer with the information that they already have. Just based on the size, the orbital speed, and its distance away from the star, and the type of star itself, all as well.
Yeah, they can probably like discern how big the star is, how much radiation it would emit, and how far a planet would have to be in order to not be, to be Earth-like in terms of like
absolutely
sustaining our type of life. Because I mean, when we think about like life, we're assuming it has to be like a perfect cool 70 degrees, but who knows? Maybe there's like maybe there's beings in those planets that are like fucking 200, 300 degrees, and they're just chilling, and they have rocky faces, scaly rocky faces. Yeah, that'd be cool.
They need lotion. But I mean, it's one of those things. It's just theory of observation. You do bring up a point, because if you kind of even look at certain things like our Europas and all those other moons and stuff like that we think support life underneath, like all the ice and all that shit, it's very possible that our theory of what we believe brings about life might be completely wrong. And
not wrong, more just short-sighted.
Well, I mean, I think that goes back to what Chad was saying. It was like a carbon molecule, whatever, here is the same everywhere in the universe. So the assumption is like, well, if on Earth these are the parameters that support life, more than likely they're the same everywhere else. So if something's
Right.
like, I mean, if we go to the Arctic or the Antarctic, and we're like, well, this can't support this amount of life because it's too cold and most life can't survive, then possibly in certain planets that are too cold, nothing survives. But we don't really know that 100% just yet.
No, we don't know that yet. We're still learning, you know. I mean, pretty much what we're doing is we're just looking up at the sky and making good guesses.
Yeah.
Educated guesses.
Or
at the
maybe
end of
we
the day.
don't have like the right now we
Amongst,
could be like other life forms that we just can't detect because we don't have the senses for it.
Oh shit! You just want
Uh-oh.
like deep spiritual shit, or the
Yep.
like multidimensional. That's possible.
Uh-oh.
That's what everybody says that aliens are like.
Yeah, isn't there,
wizards
like-
and stuff are?
There's like species on our planet that don't have the ability to see anything, like that don't have sight.
Beyond sight.
They don't have sight beyond sight. I guess they wouldn't be able to know that there's like a whole entire stuff out there. And so like just because they don't have the ability to see, so maybe we don't have the ability to do something that we don't even know about because we don't have the ability for it.
That kind of reminds me of like how back in the day we couldn't see blue. Like there's
What?
Is it an article or a video or whatever?
Who said
Who,
this?
me or
Well,
just people?
No, just the humans. Like there was nothing in writing that described the color blue. Yeah, we
Evolved
kind of evolved
in order
to
to see it.
blue
Interesting.
better. Like you can see it in literature, where every time somebody would describe something that's to us is like, yeah, that's just blue. Like they would describe it as a completely different color.
Is modern?
This is fairly modern, yeah.
Like, so,
Like,
all right,
and
okay,
so
the
you
biggest
can
thing that I
see
know
in
that's
literature-
blue is like the sky. So you're saying
Sure.
like people were like,
yeah, they
so
used
the
to see
sky
like
was-
a gray, I think.
okay.
There's a fantastic video that goes over the evolution of the color blue and how it's a fairly modern color to see. I don't know the details of the science behind it, but
So we're still evolving, I guess. We're on the spectrum and we have to like we're still reaching that level that we need to reach. But this is a big step. I feel like Trappist 1 is big, right? Because it's what, how close? 40 light years?
39 light years.
That's nothing.
39 point. It really isn't, by all intents and purposes.
That's long.
Of course, our means of getting there, we don't have that right
Yeah.
now. But
What
it's
about
still,
there's a Tesla.
is Trappist
There's like
one the
there's not a
sun or the
Tesla that
solar
can
system?
make it.
Tesla?
Say, wait, what was the question?
is Trappist 1 the sun or the solar system?
It's technically the sun, and then it's thereby assigned to the entire solar system itself.
No, okay.
Because the planets get get alpha digits, so whereas
There's like
where the
Trappist
star
1, A,
itself
B,
is like
C, D.
yeah, exactly. So of the 7, it's like Trappist would be the star itself is Trappist 1, but the planet would be Trappist B, Trappist C, D, E, F, G, and H. And so on some other little points to that, I believe it's A, B, C, D, E, F, and G are the ones that sit comfortably in that star's habitable zone. So you have, not 1, not 2, but 3 purely, hypothetical chances of real life existing on an extraterrestrial planet.
Why wouldn't they have found us by now?
Maybe they don't want to find us.
Well, a couple things. The star itself being a red dwarf star.
Are we just more advanced than we think we are?
No, not necessarily. From what I've read and what I understand, that star system is actually very young. I mean, my numbers might be wrong. From what I've read, it's only like 500 million years old, which is odd. Because if the star itself is only that young, which is not unreasonable, but that would actually kind of make more sense.
I mean, humans have only been around for 200 million.
Yeah, like
200,000.
200,000 years, yeah, or so.
Oh, sorry, my bad. Yeah, that's a big leap.
That's all good. but then you have to
But the Bible
consider.
says
The Bible says we've been here for like 2,000 years.
If you put
2,000? 5,000,
Something
right?
like that.
Yeah.
If you put our star as an example, like our star is 6 billion years old.
Best star.
and the Earth itself is 4.5, and life itself didn't actually begin here until like 2 billion years within the Earth's
the cosmic calendar I saw.
existed.
Neil Tyson.
So like
Shout out.
a star system being 500 million years old, that's beyond young. That's like damn near infancy. If that number is correct, I will have to do further research into that. But it kind of lends itself to why all 7 terrestrial bodies, even if they are fully formed, orbits this star in a matter of
Real
days.
close. Yeah.
They're so fucking close
yeah,
that
they're
literally
close.
each year takes like the most promising one, Trappist H, I think, the middle one, finishes orbits in a week, 10 days.
Wow, that's crazy.
That's absolutely mental.
Yeah.
And
It's like a
despite
wild
its size,
ride,
that's
like,
blazingly
being there.
fast. Yeah, pretty much.
Right. So if
like
one
constantly going
year is
super
10
fast.
days.
Yeah,
So when you go, so if we visit there, we all get hella old fast.
mad quick. Like from
No.
since the press conference, it's already been like a year and a half on that planet. So so that's pretty wild for what it's worth. That's pretty fucking wild. But other little tidbits that I want to interject real quick, just to kind of round it off, why I believe life on those planets are damn near non-existent, is there is its orbital speed. To me, anything going around anything in a matter of days in space is stupid quick. So that's the kind of speed that's just
Like a roller coaster ride.
pretty much. You know what I mean?
But wait, how big is the star compared to our sun?
The best example I can give you is the same example NASA gave, where our star, were it a basketball, Trappist 1 would be...
We want better, Chad. You can do better than NASA.
Oh, no.
I'm sure NASA did a good job.
Yeah. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt. But like, let's say if our star were the size of a basketball, Trappist 1 is the size of a golf ball. So it's really,
Okay, so it's-
really small. It's maybe like 1 point change times bigger than Jupiter.
You hear that, Trappist?
But the planets are still going a lot faster than, like, even the size change, like the planets are still going a lot
Yeah,
faster. right?
absolutely. Like if it's at one point of the star and in 10 days it's back at that same point, that's fucking fast. That's incredible. That is incredibly freaking
Well,
fast.
to me, that just sounds like the solar system hasn't fully. I mean, if it's that young, it hasn't settled down
Could
just
be.
yet from its creation. Like it still has the momentum from when it it formed, and it's still like not done.
That's a very
doing
good
its
point,
thing.
because the same type of numbers could be equated to a star system even like ours in its infancy. So let's say both Earth, Mars, and Jupiter have just finished coalescing from the accretion disk around the sun. They would be going much faster and be a lot closer than they are today, because a lot of the conservation of momentum is one of the more tangible laws of the universe, where anything that starts with a certain speed tends to maintain that speed, but over the course of billions of years would inevitably slow down just enough. It would still keep it going the same direction, but it wouldn't be as fast or as close to its parent host. So that is a good possibility that these planets are still very much in their infancy and have not yet had the time to coalesce life on it. But a flip side to that aspect is that these type of dwarf stars, burn their fuel at a much slower rate as compared to our suns, and thereby can last trillions of years, whereas our star has a life expectancy of maybe less, 10 billion years.
10
So
years.
is it like Exxon Mobil and Chevron? Those CEOs are just like, yo, like, let's go get, like, yeah, they're just kind of like rubbing their hands together, like, yo, like,
Let's go get it. Let's
But
go get it.
oil comes from like organic matter. There's no
Oh.
organic matter there.
they
They're
can't
just gonna
exploit it
fucking-
somehow. But I feel like
gonna
because like
be-
there's
they're gonna be
nobody,
hurt. They're gonna get there and there's nothing there.
it's like like fresh meat, for them. It's like it's just.
I think Zales. I'm sure there's a lot of diamonds on it, so Zales could probably get some cash out of that.
I don't think Zales is like big like that though.
But yeah, so one last little bit that I feel probably it removes the possibility of life existing on the planet is that they are, due to their proximity to the star, they are more than likely tidally locked, kind of like how Mercury is. So one side of the planet always faces the star,
That's weird.
and the other side is always in perpetual darkness.
Oh, really?
So There's two
Wasn't
like
that?
kill.
That was Pitch Black, right? When like
two deaths,
no.
whatever what you call it. There's two
in
strikes.
Pitch Black, like when it was dark on one side and you didn't want to be on the dark side.
That one.
Because that's when the things come out.
No, I think that planet rotated.
Really?
What sucked is that it's
it was
neighboring.
night and day.
It was like a neighboring star. No, not star. Excuse me. A neighboring planet put it in perpetual darkness as an eclipse.
Bad news.
That lasts like really fucking long, which is pretty dope. But anyway, yeah. So if a planet, despite its makeup or whatever, if it's tidally locked to a star, from what I understand, for a planet to generate an electromagnetic field that protects it from interstellar dust and debris, radiation, and what have you, it has to spin on its axis because that gyroscopic motion at its core, which is, and especially if it has an iron core, generates an electromagnetic field, thereby protecting the surface from being bombarded by electromagnetic radiation. Yeah, exactly.
You need protection from Magneto.
So it's you protection from Magneto. And you need that.
Magneto's Omega level. Yeah. But we're so the inhabitants, we're gonna be I wasn't thinking that there was already people there. I thought maybe we were gonna be the first ones there. And like just go and bring all our bullshit over there.
It could be. So like, but even despite that, again, the fact that they are within the star's habitable zone, and there are 3 to choose from, you know, those are really good odds.
Do you want the winter house? Do you want the summer home? You know,
do you want it somehow, or do you want the coastal, which is just goes around the planet like what's it longitudinally? So you just go along the sides, you just chill there, and be in like perpetual twilight forever, but it'll be nice and like 70 something degrees.
That sounds like California.
I mean, I don't think I'm in the camp that we shouldn't leave our planet until we fucking solve our issues.
That ain't gonna happen, son. Hey, if we had to wait for that, then we'd be waiting. We would all die then.
Yeah, well, I mean, we will be dead by then, regardless. By the time that you're
saying like, hey, like let's stop worrying about other planets because we need to like focus on our planet and make sure
No. I mean, I'm not saying let's stop worrying about the planets or anything like that. I'm just saying maybe before we start like fucking infesting the universe, we should like make sure we're not a virus.
We are though. Maybe. I think we have to come to accept the fact that
we're like, oh well, we're a virus. No, nothing we can do about it. Let's just infest everything. That's
I mean that's pretty much us in this sense because if you even look at migration to other places,
Agent Smith is the one that.
Well, I mean, you can say it that
broke
way,
this down.
I'm just saying, look at reality. Like we go from place to place in hopes of making a new, because we're always running away from a problem. You know, the Pilgrims did that with America. Genghis Khan wanted to do that for his own personal reasons. So I'm pretty sure that the whole idea of having a utopia world before we get to Mars is probably not going to happen. We're probably going to get there either because we got there on our own time, or we have no time and we need an escape route to get there.
Yeah, I think Mars is probably like we'll probably make it to Mars before we solve our issues, but it's more of like I don't know. Like I feel like
it's the best possible cause for us to not have these problems here, because once we get on a different planet, then we just have twice the amount of problems. Yeah. You know, exactly. It's just gonna be crazy.
Like I feel like we've kind of crossed that threshold of psychology and intelligence in order to be able to really see the issues that we're causing. I mean, I wonder if
what?
If that...
No. This is good.
What makes you think that we've figured this out? Like,
I mean, because we're talking about it. We're talking about it like, oh my god, we're such a virus race.
We're the minority.
But we're exactly. Like,
well, I guess. Well, that's what we got.
This is very good because
and we're minorities.
This definitely goes into our next segment very well, I think, and that is the whole hypernormalization of the reality, the world that we live in today. And we do have the tools to make a better world. It's just really
in virtual reality.
Virtual reality and reality, but it's just those who are in power right now are just not about it.
We're talking about Hypernormalization, the documentary by Adam Curtis. Has anybody ever seen any other Adam Curtis movies?
No.
He has like a few that are supposedly really good.
Yeah, from what I hear.
Yeah, and they all kind of touch. He goes into some more, some specifics more in depthly, like psychology, or whether it's that or it's like the Afghanistan war. His most recent one was this Hypernormalization movie. And a lot of the themes of it are cyberspace. The complexities of the world are so vast that we want to not have to deal with them. And instead, we want to just kind of have our own little safe spaces on the internet.
Yeah, I can relate.
Well, yeah, that, but then also in real life as well. Because I think the documentary, it talks about the actuality of the world, and then it goes into that. Pretty much like what you were saying, like how we need to fix our problems here before we go on to a different place, or else we're just going to bring those problems. It's exactly, in some sense, what the documentary was talking about, because it's like the problems in real life, happen. Then in cyberspace, everything was free, cool, and blah, 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 and, utopia-like. Mm-hmm. But we went into that with that, but then as well, people started to see
our problems followed us into cyberspace.
Exactly. And it is to where we are today.
Mm-hmm. But now, like the way that, so we created a algorithm using probability matrices. Let's just say. I don't know if that's like the proper. I'll just say like probability matrices because it sounds cool. But it's like causality, I guess, and based on your actions or so the computer records everything that you do, where you go, who you talk to, all of that stuff. And then based on that algorithm, it just produces content that is favorable to you. It's a reflection of who you are. So the internet becomes a reflection of who you are. And that's not by accident. And then, so it just becomes this like self-fulfilling prophecy, kind of like this. You know what I'm talking about? How like when you go on Facebook, you just see like articles that are reinforcing the ideas that you already have. So you're like, oh yeah, that's right. That makes sense to me because I agree with that. And then you're just like, I like that.
Because Facebook feeds you what you want to see. It doesn't. It's in the business. Facebook is a business. They want to sell you ads. So in order for it to sell you ads, they got to show you what you want to look at. And that's
this is the problem with the cyberspace now, is because it instead of becoming like a safe space, now all of a sudden it just becomes like this tool that is geared to just kind of like keep you from really not challenging you in any way. It's just kind of giving you like what you think you want to see.
Right. And I mean, there's a brilliant part of it as well that that brought about that is they made a psychologist machine. Pretty much it's like a program that it's like it doesn't help you, it just answers back the question.
It repeats the question to you.
In the example, it had a lady who would just sit down there and tell the computer its problems. So it'd be like, computer would be like, hey, how's your day, or whatever, and she like, my day was good, it was sunny or whatever, and then he would just answer back her and be like, oh, so your day was sunny and good, like question mark. So then pretty much it would just prompt her to keep asking, to keep like, telling,
how come like, oh, why was your childhood so bad? And then you would type in like, well, my dad was like kind of abusive and he was hardly around and he was like had alcohol problems. And then the computer would just be like, oh, so you're saying that your dad was abusive? And then you're like, yeah, exactly. Like he would kind of go around and he would like hit on my mom's, stuff like that. And then you would just keep talking to it because you would be so involved with yourself that even though this thing isn't really even helping you. And then, but the weird part about it is that after you're done, you feel better.
Yeah.
Well, that's
You know?
that's kind of like the movie Her,
Well, her was an actual artificial intelligence.
but it's the whole it's kind of the same thing where this computer analyzes what you like and then kind of like spews it back at you. The whole point of the movie is that the one AI was doing it for everybody independently.
It was pretty much we're just feeding it what we want.
Yeah, and then it just kind of like responds to you the way you want it to respond.
Yeah.
Twombly.
Or more or less like keeps the conversation, makes you think you've got control of the conversation, even though it's not doing anything but, like they've said, just reiterating the same question you've already asked. Just in a question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's where kind of the current state of computing is at right now. Like that was like a starting point.
Yeah,
and much. Then like now like we have those like causality and probability algorithms that are kind of just recycling like our own ideas to ourselves.
And although the documentary did not explicitly go into detail to the quote unquote evolution of this type of system, if you compare it to anything like either Snowden has brought to light or any sort of like national security documentary has brought to light in terms of the type of systems that they use based on the amount of data that they can regurgitate through just our daily usage of our cell provider or social media outlets, it's it's almost it's pretty terrifying to what sort of accuracy most of these type of quote unquote AI can generate just based on the repetition of someone's daily life due to the amount of information that's already at their leisure. So in the same way that this rudimentary program in the 80s gives you this sensation that you're speaking to a real person just by regurgitating the same question you've already asked, these other systems now can to such a high degree of success, generate information just based on what's there, whether it's legal or not, you know what I mean? So.
Yeah, but like one thing I can say is that even within the documentary, and something I'm pretty sure you guys know about, is like with the NSA and them trying to utilize these technologies to capture like terrorists and stuff like that. There is that one moment where they talk about that, where how they were utilizing all the data that was collected to try and find terrorists and get their conversations and all this type of jazz, but in the end, all they really got was people's like penises and vaginas like in their face like the whole time.
They're like,
So
what people were using it for, people were using the internet for was like just sending like sexting each other,
dick pics. And the governments at the time thought, okay, if we sneak and look at everyone's stuff, we'll most likely be able to find like who's a terrorist or who's not. And from that search, they found 0 people.
Oh, you mean like they were spying on everybody just to see if they can pick out.
Exactly. Find use this information that they've been collecting to find like terrorists and all that type of shit. But as I said, all they did was get its.
I want to see like Batman in the Batcave, and he has like the the technology that he had in the Dark Knight, where
the Joker.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. When he like accesses like everybody's like cell phone.
Yeah,
but
it's
just like exactly, like all the screens are just like dick pics and like boobs and stuff like that, and Batman is just sitting there frustrated like in his chair like
scroll
save as scroll.
I mean, but
yo, shout out to Fiber Optic and Acid, what's that dude's name, Acid Freak. Those are like the most gangster 90s. Like hacker names ever. They talk about 2 hackers specifically. And I just wanted to give them a shout out because those are gangster ass names.
For real.
Fiber Optic.
I mean, spelled with a PH, by the way. PHIBR. It's fucking sick.
Well, the thing is that's actually kind of cool about those guys is actually something that intrigues me, because what they did was, some people would consider what they did wrong, but at the same time, what they did was kind of open up the eyes to a lot of people. Because in that part of the documentary, they were talking about how, the guy wanted to make the internet or cyberspace like a place, like a utopia and all this type of shit. But they got deep down and exposed, like, the banks and all this type of stuff and like all this other information that we have stored on the internet. Like the one guy who was talking about the whole utopia stuff, like they exposed like his bank accounts and like all this type of jazz, not in a bad way to like use it for anything, but just to show like, hey, this is also the information that is out here on the internet, and if someone really bad wants to do something with it, you easily could. So those guys were, on the forefront of bringing that stuff to light.
Yeah, for sure. Well, the cool thing about Adam Curtis is that he has like access to the BBC archives,
which is a lot.
So he just spends like just hours just like going through footage of like the BBC news archives and culture archives, and he just picks out like these clips and he puts them to music. Interesting music too, like
tons of fucking Burial, bro.
Yeah, like
so
Burial
cool.
is like featured heavily, son. Like Mad Burial and like Aphex Twin and like all these like really dope artists. And I was like I was like, yo, does he have like copyrights? But I don't know. But anyways, he also has like a really like easy sounding voice because he narrates the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's 2 hours and 45 minutes or whatever, but it's not like a hard watch. It wasn't like a struggle to get through it because like the use of his footage and like the use of his music and also I think the sound of his voice.
I will say there were some moments where the pacing got just a little bit disjointed as you're watching it, and that's only due to the way
he's trying to fit in like
the way he
keeps
trying to factor in these other, albeit at the surface, like unnecessary aspects about the documentary itself. But
my favorite like thing that you're talking about, Chad, is where he kind of like goes into like off like on a like random tangent. Was the story of like the Japanese gambler,
right at Trump Tower,
where he like exactly like because like so Trump I almost called him Michael Trump for a second. I was like, Michael Trump. His name is Donald Trump, actually. But he is like this, well, he was like a casino
magnate. Still is, by the way.
Magnate, yeah, like real estate tycoon. Or at least he played one on TV. Like, whether he was like it was like, there's evidence that he was like a very poor businessman. But he like made himself out to be like kind of a celebrity tycoon type of figure. And in the 80s, he had Trump Taj Mahal. And he's a president now, right? That's crazy. But in the 80s, he had like Trump Taj Mahal. And there was this Japanese gambler who was like known for like going in and just placing like high ass stakes.
Wrecking house too.
And cleaning house.
And cleaning house. Yeah, like going into a casino and just being like, yo, I put 10 million on black. And then bam, like you walking out of there with 20 mil. And everybody was scared of this fool because they were like, they didn't know. Because they were just like, yo, we ain't in the business of losing 20 million.
And Trump's estate wasn't doing that well at the time that this guy came in, and he damn near almost like bankrupted the casino.
Well, I think he did, because he went bankrupt right after that.
Yep.
Well, he goes bankrupt.
But then he teamed up with he does. But he teamed up with that other guy. Got the Japanese dude to come back, and he ended up losing and got like 15 million.
That was the story. Like this dude came in and he like took Trump for mad millions. And Trump was like teetering on bankruptcy at the time, so he couldn't afford like this guy to come in and wipe him like that. So he was desperate, and he contacted this dude that was like instrumental in like the Cold War, like act like. no. This is like he ran like Rand or something, like just like the nukes basically.
Right.
He was this mathematician, physicist.
He was
guy.
a fucking probability dude.
Yeah, and he contacted him to try to help him like win his money back, and the guy basically helped Trump to get the gambler
to
lure him back into the casino to kind of get to win his millions back, and it kind of worked, But before Trump could get paid, he mysteriously got assassinated by Yakuza assassins.
Really?
Yeah.
In his
Yeah.
fucking hotel.
No, it wasn't in his hotel.
It wasn't. Oh, I got.
No, that would be crazy.
This is in his
That would
home
be
in
fucking
Japan.
amazing.
So the casino never got any money.
Nope.
The casino never got the money back,
Wow.
and like
Well,
Trump went
I'm
bankrupt
sure
like
it's
right
in
after.
Trump's pocket.
Bro, he had to pay. He owed Trump like between like $6 and $10 million when he died, and I don't think he ever got the money back. So I guess Chad, like that's what kind of like side. I don't know. Yeah, he goes because he tries to connect everything.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, he does a good job, but it's just that these are certain aspects that within themselves require perhaps a little bit more time for a greater context to the overall story he's trying to tell. But I would definitely say he doesn't fail in making the connection. It's just that these things, albeit a little disjointed, are just kind of like so like out of fucking nowhere, you know. So
the movie starts off with Patti Smith, who was a famous artist at the time.
Yeah.
Musician and artist in
And she's
New
still
York
alive,
City. Right?
Yes, she is.
We gotta get R&D on that.
Right.
But it starts off the movie. The entire movie starts off in the 70s in New York City, basically, in like 1975, which is also like right around the time that
Libya.
And in Damascus, right?
Well,
which is in
Damascus,
Syria.
sorry.
Syria.
Sorry.
So in 1975, New York City. So it like you can see like the subways with like graffiti on it. I was like, yo, is this the Get Down? Yo.
Back when New York was rough.
To me, I was just like, oh, like so the world started ending right at the same time that hip hop started.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Pretty well.
No, the world's been ending since way before that. But that's kind of the setup for basically his theory that the shift towards where we're at right now in society, because the movie ends with like Trump basically, and it's weird because also like the movie came out in like October last year, so it was before like the results of the election, but you can kind of tell that he knew already like what was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
He saw like the writing on the wall already.
Very much so.
He did his history homework, and he can see how things were gonna play out most likely.
He definitely did his history homework. So in like the 70s, like artists that were big in like the 60s when they were protesting the war and just being like the beginning of counterculture, basically, like everybody standing up for civil rights and marching in Washington and protesting and all of that energy that we had in the 60s before my time. All of a sudden in the 70s and the early 80s, like people lost that energy and they started to basically like turn it inside. Instead of being external forces, they started to work on themselves individually. Like, oh, because we can't really make much of a difference in the world, let's just try to improve ourselves and then try to improve our minds and our inner self. So all of these artists and musicians and writers that were instrumental in the 60s, now they're like turning it inside and trying to like become like working like on individualism instead of working like cohesively, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean, the documentary, as you were saying, does a good job of bringing in the structure of Trump, but more so in how things are done in the world, where the example between America and Syria and how, you know, even in the early beginnings and with that whole New York segment, how the power shift happened, where they were talking about how like political parties lost power all to the banks.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they stopped buying the bonds.
Exactly. And the banks played a hard face, and they're just like, well, if you guys don't want to play my game, we're not going to show up to your meetings and help you guys out, and we're just going to let you struggle until you guys need us. And that's essentially the tone that's happening within the world that we live in.
Mm-hmm.
So
this is like a conspiracy theory movie, but it's kind of like,
I don't really say it's conspiracy.
it's kind of like the what's the
it's kind of like the truth is there,
like the 9/11 one that was like going around for a while.
Oh, what's that shit called?
What, Supersize Me? No.
Yes, Morgan Spurlock gives us the intimate details of the 9/11 conspiracy.
But no, I mean, I don't really think it's conspiracy. I think it's people realize that, hey, you need us because we're powerful. And they took the option to make that an actual true statement. And then that's when we relied on these people, let's just say they're the banks. And then because of that, our world leaders started to craft lies.
Yeah.
And because of these lies,
there's so many lies being it's like
spun.
And lies are coming from every direction that we just have like we're checking out. We're like,
right. And everything, and these lies are being spun in front of us, the people, and fed to us,
Yeah.
Wiretapping his campaign.
Wiretapping. So Obama was like, so Trump tweeted recently that Obama was wiretapping him and Trump Tower. And it's just like, everybody's saying like, there's absolutely you literally just made that up. But then now, because the president tweeted it, it has to be investigated by the Republicans, say that they're open to an investigation, and the news media has to treat it like it's a real thing because the president tweeted it, and it's literally just like some fucking made up shit.
And it's like lies and propaganda that's just either one being used to stray us away from the actual truths for whatever reasons, and it's just kind of like that. If you go on any of our Facebook feeds, we always see what we want to see. And because of how everything is being fed to us, we're seemingly okay with how things are going. I think this is something that President Obama had touched on in his exit speech. When he was saying like how there's all these different sections of the internet and how we're really just into whatever we believe in. And I thought, after watching this documentary and revisiting that part of the speech, it made a lot of sense.
I definitely agree with you. And I definitely that's why I make it a point to like really get into the other points of view. Even if it's like people I don't agree with, like Shane, I sent you like an article recently about the alt-right and anime, and like we need to take anime back really, because anime should be on our side and not their side.
Well, it should be for everybody.
Wait, what's happening here?
Yeah, what happened? Anime? On whose side is anime on?
Now, what's happening on like the alt-right's presence is that they've been using a whole lot of like anime like GIFs and
Avatars.
Such like that to spread their propaganda.
Oh boy.
It's just kind of one of those things. But I mean, it's what it is it kind of started from 4chan, and it's made its way into sub-mainstream,
like,
I will say.
It made its way into the White House, bro.
Exactly.
Yeah, man. Fucking poor Pepe.
Yeah, Pepe.
Yeah, Pepe was a victim, I think, of that whole thing. And it's kind of no way to get Pepe back now, which is sad.
Yeah, it's important to hear these people. And I think it's one of those sad realities that by having these people be silenced for such a long time, I think wasn't the correct way of handling the problem. To truly eradicate it is to obviously have a conversation on both sides and just kind of be like, well, you know what? You're wrong, but like at least I heard you out. And to see where you went wrong.
Like the whole Trump movement came from something. And it's like that's part of the movie too. It's like we're all dealing with it. We're all dealing with this like dissemination of misinformation, and it's hitting us all from different angles, and we're all kind of having to deal with it. And the alt-right is dealing with it in their own way, but it's like these 25-year-olds that actually live in their parents' basement still and don't have a job, are not in school. Why don't we just put Donald Trump in the White House? Because wouldn't that be funny? Like let's do it for the lulz.
And that's where we're at, and whatever happens later. But
so like they call them NEETs, right?
Yeah.
If you're familiar with this like movement. If these people are struggling, like all throughout history, there's always been like amazing artwork that comes out of people in pain. Like if you're like struggling or if you're in pain, like then like good art comes out of it, like the punk movement or like hip hop or like whatever it is. Like it's like always something that's come out of that as like a kind of like.
Well, I kind of think for them it'd be really hard though, because their struggle isn't allowed because our society doesn't we stop it. You know, anytime anyone's like, "Yo, nigger this" or blah blah blah, or like kill Jews.
So
or
you're
some
saying
shit
like their
that,
artwork would be
it's like off,
basically like
immediately
propaganda.
It will come off that way, even though if it is in the sense that they're trying to express themselves.
They're spray painting swastikas on like playgrounds and shit. But that's not what I'm talking. I'm talking about like the feeling of like not having like being underemployed or unemployed and really feeling like you don't have any options and nobody's really on your side except for like the like 4chan community. Like channel that into something positive or at least something artistic. Is it maybe it's memes? It's just like making memes? Is that
but
like
that's the thing though?
Yeah.
Maybe they do memes or stuff like that, and that's the only way that they can get things out.
Don't they know that? Like, I mean, it's really hard for me to believe that somebody can actually believe in these like nationalist or whatever or Nazi like beliefs and not know that they're bad and that he's being like a huge troll. I feel like somebody that makes that type of art to put it out there to cause like some sort of stir knows what they're doing. I mean, most of the quote unquote leaders recently that are going with that movement are trolls that they're doing it just to cause like concern in people.
Nah, I
Like,
think
there was
that,
that-
well,
true,
like
because,
Milo,
I mean,
Milo is
Milo.
definitely a troll.
And then there was the other guy,
But that I
Nazi
think
guy.
Richard Spencer is not a troll. I think that Milo's more of a troll because he's really just in it for his ego and whatever. Like,
Yeah, I feel I
he's just
definitely,
trying to get like a rise out of people. But I think like Richard Spencer's like, I don't think he's that so much. He's like really like trying to start.
No, I believe that he
okay.
definitely believes what he's talking about. But I do feel that he also is kind of doing it in a troll fashion. Like he's trying to like incite anger in people.
Right, and you're right, Louis. You're very right, because like if you kind of think about it, the little bit of attention and noise that they can do with these sort of things is them putting a sassy meme out there, and people are like offended by it. But oh no, it works. And like as one of the guys was saying, like at the end of the day, it's just pictures and words. It's like up to you to
Ha ha ha! I triggered you.
Just trying to blow it off like it's just that. It's not anything more. But we know that it's not just pictures and words. It is more. There's meaning behind these pictures and words. That's where they're at. Because sadly or not sadly, they're giving a voice, a platform in these days. It's something that's always been there. It's just that now, because we're stupidly connected, we're starting to see it in our face.
Mm-hmm.
It's very, very funny, man, because something that, and I know this might go like way off, but
no, man,
it's like,
let's go out there. I mean, you can't go any more out there than like
than
the
what
world
is there.
Yeah, exactly.
Because all right, so my thing is that I thought of this, and this brings us back to this whole like hyper normalization, the reason why we are here, the reason why we're okay, where there's shit happening and blah 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 and yada yada. It's kind of our existence. I believe this happened from the moment when man conquered whatever the hell it is that was out there killing us. And once we conquer that,
woolly mammoths.
And once we had the time to actually sit down and think and do art and whatever and create all this shit is when all this nonsense happened. It allowed for our minds to ponder like on music and junk. The actuality, the beasts are still out there.
Well, but we're in the cave just like banging on drums.
Yeah, we believe the beast is gone, but in all actuality, the beast is still out there. It's just evolving. To come back and fight us in some other way. And what has happened is every time it happens, we take a step back from fighting it, and then we sit back and just kind of think like, oh, it's gone, and we're happy. But we just gotten to a point now that I think the beast realizes that they can control us with just lying to us, and they're going to go ahead and do whatever they want to do and just give us enough, and we're just happy with it at the end
We're
of
the
the day.
beast. Turns out it's man.
Or you were about like, yo, I'm about to get hella wild right now, but you can't get any more wild than the whole reason why we got into the Iraq War was because of the movie The Rock with Sean Connery and Nicolas Cage.
What?
That's crazy. Yes. That's a very crazy thing that they talk about in the documentary.
What's the story? What?
Well, the warranting behind their presumed, I did predominantly with the UK's intelligence more so than the United States.
Yeah, it was the UK.
Bloody wankers.
Where their basis of information as far as identifying potential weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, if I'm not mistaken, was lifted from The Rock, where they had presumably found documents
Not Dwayne Johnson.
that listed Iraq was developing VX poison gas in little round crystals strewn together and a cylindrical type of artifact,
like a glass
that
container
could be stored in a rocket warhead, and then they identified that was actually Michael Bay film. So
yeah. Like, bro, like,
Oh my god.
Yeah, and I think something like that recently happened too with President Trump, where
President Michael Trump.
it was a big thing. Like all the news medias, all the medias were talking about it, but it linked back to like a fan fiction.
That's crazy. How much media influences the truth.
Well, what it is a play right out of the Russian playbook, right? The whole hyper-normalization title of the movie comes from
the whole phenomenon.
It comes from Russia in the late 80s.
Mm-hmm.
When Soviet Russia was falling apart, nobody in Russia really, or nobody in, I should say, the Soviet Union saw it happening because the propaganda was so strong leading up to them. Like, they had been so ingrained in this system, so that when like literally like the world is falling around them, like they had no idea it was about to happen, just right up until the point it happened, because they were all living in this like hyper normalized world. So that's kind of where he got the name from. And so it's not saying that we're Soviet Union, but it's like a thing that is happening
That's the state that.
Yeah, it's like we are so like normalized into like getting all this lies and false information constantly that we don't see it anymore.
Yeah,
we see it as normal.
I would like to add one small thing to it, and I will preface this by saying I haven't done a lot of due diligence in this statement, so there's no true
Lies, spreading lies.
Fake news.
There you go.
There's no
Fake
indefinite
news.
truth to what I have to say. This is just a personal observation based on just the type of connectivity in the histories of the powers that be in the past 30 years to the way things have more or less played itself out now. Not to belabor the point any longer, is this I kind of feel that there's a lot more to Trump achieving the presidency, more so than it's not like
Well, it was Russian hacking. We know that it wasn't a fluke. We know that it's like
we don't know that for sure.
It was. This is all.
No, I think what I'm saying is like an agenda that could be fulfilled with him being in power. I feel has a lot more detriment
For sure.
to the world, much more than we are aware of. To the same extent, like if you could look back at the early 2000s, like those first 10 years, all you really need to look at is 20 years prior to that, and all of the pieces that got put into place to when Bush Jr. got into power, and all of the let's say quote unquote conveniences that allowed for the U.S. invasion of Iraq. When despite whoever played for 9/11, let's just go out of our way and say that it was definitely Osama bin Laden and Al Qaeda.
For sure.
Lies. And it kind of goes back to the same thing with Libya and Syria during all those terrorist bombings in the UK. and the U.S. embassies over there, where they kept blaming Libya and Gaddafi when he had absolutely nothing to do with it. It kind of just plays into this idea that
it's leading up to something.
Yeah, the type of environment that the vast majority of American citizens were under during Obama's presidency. There was a lot of that brewing racism and hatred that had no, like Shane's has said, and the documentary outlined it, that there was no outlet outside of whatever, if you were tech savvy, outside of just being online or whatever you share with your neighbor, if you weren't tech savvy for that matter. So now you have a president who has no barrier or no filter on his vitriol, and there's a reliability or a reasonability for them to connect with. So there is that influence, that very good, charming influence that Trump has, that would initially provide a platform for this kind of bigotry and hatred to have a say in today's society, right? Mm-hmm. That all being said, it's kind of like, Hillary Clinton, for all intents and purposes, still won the popular vote.
Lock her up.
So even if even if there was a lot of momentum behind all of this energy, this negative energy in the United States, she still won the popular vote. Those people came out and voted in masses, but everyone else,
3 million votes.
Everyone else was just kind of like, nah, this dude definitely doesn't need to be there. So him winning now, to me, kind of seems there's another chapter in our history that's almost like equivalent to what it was with Bush, where there's a lot of ties to be had with him.
Noted war criminal.
Yeah. For him to be in power, that's kind of scary now.
Everybody, they're trying to make him seem like this adorable person nowadays. Like, oh, look, he paints like cats and stuff. Like, I remember that fool. I'm glad that you brought up Gaddafi, because he's like basically like the hero of this story.
Yeah,
which is like
beyond.
Yeah, it's like beyond, like the fact that like Gaddafi is like the hero of this story is like
insanely odd. Yeah.
Didn't he want to change from the gold, or like he wanted to switch away from like the euro or something?
I mean, there's a lot of that stuff that's outside of what we're talking about. So keep that in mind. But
yeah,
finish.
The Arab Spring, right, happened in 2012, right, and where people were kind of protesting and trying to get their dictators out. But like Gaddafi was kind of like the dude. I mean, it was so crazy to see him young too, like in the documentary, like when he was like kind of a handsome dude.
Yeah.
Well, he was like a kind of a revolutionary figure back then, and he wrote the Green Book, where he wrote like his like third world theory or something like that, where where there was like a such thing between like something that wasn't communism and something that wasn't capitalism, but it was like something in the middle that could benefit everybody. So he had like
democratic
this
socialism?
book that he written that exactly, it was like Bernie's book.
Yeah.
But like Gaddafi had it first, and then people would just laugh at him, like he was kind of like the laughingstock of the Middle East. And Assad, the president of Syria at the time, he like basically like invented like suicide bombing.
Oh boy.
Mm-hmm.
Did like a bunch of attacks, the one in Beirut in Lebanon that killed 240 Marines. That made Reagan actually like scared of Syria and like didn't want any piece of like trying to go into Syria. So instead of actually fighting Assad, he like propped up Gaddafi to be like the supervillain when he wasn't. Like he wasn't responsible for any of those things, and they just make it seem like Gaddafi was the guy, and that could be like the dude to point the finger at, like the bad guy.
Yeah.
And so we did that over and over again until it was convenient for Gaddafi to be on our side, because like we needed a win in the Middle East. So all of a sudden we told them that we'd lift the sanctions on Libya.
But
if
before you finish, one thing to add is that Gaddafi, having no friends,
he lived it up. He liked the
fact that we made him that guy. So that's
he was
what
important
he got into
now.
it, all that. He played his part.
He lived it up. He did. Like he kind of was like, I guess, drunk with like all the attention, and so he was like, "Oh, everybody's looking at me now. I'm a somebody now." And he kind of like played it. He played it up more than he probably should have.
He got like 20 likes.
Yeah,
20 likes on his YouTube account.
But then
he played it up.
There was a Pan Am flight that went down, and all the evidence pointed to Assad again in Syria. They try to blame it on Gaddafi again, and there was like literally no evidence. And then they even interview his son saying that like, yeah, we didn't do it, but we'll say we did it just so you guys can lift the sanctions. which is wild because this is like another thing that we've been told as the public that it was Gaddafi and that's the villain. Really, it's not. It's like you can't. Everything is just like a joke to these people.
It's a play.
It's a play.
It just kind of makes you think, because especially like if that's the case with Gaddafi, you kind of think about everyone else that the U.S. doesn't, who aren't friends with.
Castro,
the Korea guy.
The Korea guy
Kim.
Yeah,
Kim Jong-un.
Yeah, all these people we demonize them. We make them our.
Well, let's not ignore the fact that North Korea is a complete fucking nightmare, and it is all Kim Jong Un. So.
But the thing is, do you know that for sure? You only know what
I know what.
We have like there's people from
shit.
There's like people that have come out of North Korea,
right? Who say these things. But I'm just saying, it's just one of those things that makes you ponder. It's like,
no, absolutely,
we're
not just sure. But let's give credit where it's due. North Korea is a piece of shit, and it is all Kim Jong Un. So,
but so then at the end, Gaddafi, he played the part, and he had to like pay the ultimate consequence at the very end. Pretty much. And it kind of like it made him seem like kind of sympathetic as a person, which is like was kind of a surprise ending.
The thing is that he played the part, and then he realized that, oh wait, these motherfuckers are really about their own shit. So realization happened. Let me try and change the world. Let them know what's really about what's happening. Nah, you can't do that, Gaddafi. Nah, that you're supposed to say your lines. You didn't say your lines. You're saying some other shit. Then that's when we intervened and we killed him.
It's so much, but somebody like Shane, you were like, "Oh, it's scary that all of this is happening," but I didn't think the movie was scary. I thought that like the movie was comforting,
right?
Because it's like at least like these things can be explained. I guess like that's comforting to me that like like the chaos that's happening in the world, it can be kind of broken down to like 3 dudes that were like trying to get revenge on each other and like were being real petty and like had big egos.
Fucking Kissinger, Assad.
Kissinger.
I keep saying Kissinger. Sorry, that's fucking.
He was a Kissinger.
Yes. Kissinger, Assad, and like some other bloke.
Gaddafi and like Reagan and like and like Putin and Trump. They're just like.
You make a very good point. They really can't just be outlined to just a handful of guys over the past 40 years.
That are just like, fuck that guy. I'm gonna get him, because it originally started with Henry Kissinger, like kind of backstabbing Assad. It goes into the suicide bombings that happen and that keep happening and that kind of mutated into its own thing now that nobody can control until now it's backfiring on Syria because Assad is dead, but his son took over, who is now like causing the greatest refugee crisis of our generation. And he's in bed with Putin, and Trump is in bed with Putin, and we're all pretty much screwed.
Yeah,
but it shows you the evolution of how lies become reality. Just to touch base on it, it's like with the whole suicide bombing, it's like they took a religious sect and they added like some type of military sect into it, and then that's the whole Islamic terrorist nonsense that's happening. How that became, but at the end of the day, it's really that. It really just shows you if you have an agenda and you really want it, what you're going to do to do it. You're going to lie to certain people. You're going to make certain people believe your truths or whatever that you see to be. And then, just kind of...
You're going to overwhelm them with so many lies that they just want to check out. And they're like not interested in participating in the world and look for places to invest, to escape, whether it's virtual reality or whether it's YouTube or
just
whatever
actuality. Just you want to leave what's happening, and the fact that it's become the normal for us,
the NBA playoffs,
it's like that.
For me,
that's just where we're at in this world. So. All I can
Thanks
say
for listening.
Yeah. Exactly. Pay attention out there. You know, keep your minds open.
Yeah.
And hopefully you guys enjoy that chat. I had a good time.
Watch the movie, Luis, dude. I think you'll be into it. And I can't wait for the next Adam Curtis a movie to come out.
Yeah, I'll try to watch it this week or something.
And keep your eye out next year, 2018, when the James Webb Space Telescope gets launched, and it'll be able to tell whether or not these planets actually have atmospheres or water or any kind of sign of life. It's going to be a pretty fun couple years before the decade wraps up. So,
James Webb Telescope,
Space
Put that
Telescope.
in my calendar.
JWST, dog.
What time?
2018, sometime like spring, summer. It's going to be dope.
Oh, I'm sorry. I got to watch the Avengers movie.
Oh,
that's more important.
All right. I mean, you could catch the clip notes on YouTube afterwards. So it's all good.
But there's we might actually find like the Chitauri like out there. We really need the Avengers.
Or do we? Anyway, so want to say thank you, Chad, and thank you, Luis, for being on the show today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess at this time, we just want to let you guys know where you can find us. We're at the Art School Rejects. Wait, shit. Is it the Art School Rejects or is it artschoolrejects.com?
You're the one that made it.
Yeah, okay, good. All right, no, cool. No, I was just making sure. All right, so.
I don't think it's the.
No, I know it's the. So, all right, so. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so thank you guys. And just want to let you guys know where you can find us. You can check us out at artschoolrejects.com. That's our new website. And of course on Facebook, just type in Art School Rejects and you can see all the fun little posts that we make up there. And on Instagram at the Art School Rejects, I think. I could be wrong.
Search for it on Instagram.
And of course, check us out on iTunes and SoundCloud. And if you can. And Stitcher. And if you can, please leave us a like and a comment. Wait, not like and comment. Wait, what are you doing?
Yeah. Like, comment, subscribe.
Tell your friends, tell your crew.
All that cool stuff.
All that cool stuff.
So, thank you guys for listening.
Cheers, y'all.
Hopefully you guys enjoy the show. Bye.
Bye.
Watch me a move up me body, yeah. Wine up, gyal, pop wine up your body. Wine up, gyal, pop wine up your body. Wine up, gyal, pop wine up your body.